I'm a dumbass. Okay, so we're talking about non-Uber gacha units, the common ones. So there's a lot of people that are new to Battle Cats that have no idea what the hell they're doing. And a lot of them rely a little too much on Ubers. That's a problem. So I'm making this video to show you that it's really the non-Ubers that are carrying you through the game, not the Ubers. So, these are the rares, and then I'll open the super rares on a separate page. Holy shit, it's lagging. Psycho Cat is really good though. Yeah, non-Uber gotcha. Yes, Psycho Cat is really good. I'm talking about how good they are and how much more they help you than Ubers. So, these are the rare units. So they all have usage, right? They're not. There's more to the game than just pure damage, such as niche units. There's or proc units. There's proc units. There's meat shields, and then there's general, just like ranged area attack, critter, anti-red tank, red knockbacker, anti-alien damager. Kind of bad though. Jiangxi is a really good meat shield, one of the best you'll find in the game, honestly. Gomon, not really useful, but he gives you bonus money, and he's cheap. Sanzo is a proc unit for floating and with talents Angel. Doctor can knock back floating and relic, with talents at least. Necrodancer freezes floating, probably one of the most consistent freezers against floating you will get. Aside from Ubers, of course. Are there good anti-metal super rares? Well, the best one you'll probably get is Catasaurus. Because he has, with talents, he has a 12% crit chance per hit, which is really good. She slows red. I don't even know her talents. Kator, who, massive damage to floating and zombies with talents. Elemental Duelist, massive damage to red and angel. Rodeo can slow relic, which is actually his main usage later in the game. Slow against relic. Acrobats knocks back angel. Robocat knocks back black, kind of bad. Ramen Tank is one of the best meat shields against angels. And even general meat shields, honestly, because Rocker is just that powerful. Like, he has damage, he has health. He's good. Most anti-metals are from stages? Yes. That is true. Cameraman. With talents, he can be one of the best critters in the game, simply because you can stack him up, and he has a lot more damage than most critters. But spammable area attacker, just like Cyborg up here. Psycho Cat, really good anti-alien slower. Thaumaturge, with talents immune to wave, he can carry you through Heavenly Tower floor 30 and other things. He can weaken pretty much anything. Pretty much. I don't think he targets metal. Weed Whacker, freezes zombies. Ectoweight knocks back zombies. Catalyte can get Barrier Breaker with talents, but also really good anti-alien meat shield, especially with damage. It's a meat shield with damage. Belly Dancer can dodge red and Aku. Shigong can tank zombies. All of these units have a niche of their own that not a lot of Ubers can cover as well as they do. Especially Jiangxi, because Ubers don't typically have... I don't think there's a single Uber that has meat shield capabilities. So, Jiangxi, being 360 without talents, but with talents you can get... I thought it was 240. Oh, True Form. True Form is 240. 240 for guaranteed chance to... Oh, god damn, I can't speak. Surviving a lethal strike, guaranteed, which is really fucking good for a meat shield. And also damage, I guess, but that's kind of useless. So, like, what I'm trying to say, right, is that these units, they're spammable. They're cheaper than Ubers, and they're more reliable than a lot of Ubers. So, one of you, bring up an Uber, right? Bring up an Uber that has a use, right? And I'll tell you, and I'll try and compare it to a rare unit. Just name an Uber. Just name an Uber that is good. Shadow Gal? Okay. Anti-traitless. Why did you name one of the best? I'm not doing Shadow Gal. Catalyte talent HP is enough to stand Ulala? True. Windy versus Qatar, I don't even use Qatar. But here's the thing, right? Qatar is way more spammable than Windy. Windy, whatever. Tigaluga, that's a very niche Uber. I'm talking about general basic bitch Ubers. But let's look at Windy compared to Qatar, right? About 10 times the recharge time, right? But less than, well, but less than 10 times the DPS. However, Qatar also has single attack. But, like, what do you expect? It's a rare compared to an uber rare. Uber rares typically have longer recharge time, more HP, more damage, for one, longer attack frequency, typically, as well as more range. Typically. Again, typically. However, these guys are more spammable, giving them much more usage, and then they're also cheaper, allowing them to be used in stages that don't give you money. And then also, talents exist, so there is a niche, like target zombie and zombie killer. But Windy also has attack up and stuff. Like, obviously Ubers are going to be more useful, but you still, chances are you're probably going to use at least one. You're going to use every single one of these rares at least once in the game, especially since a lot of rares actually have research combos that Ubers will not typically have. Gigapult, why are you guys saying some crazy ass Ubers? I'm talking about lower tier average Ubers. Tengu. I'll compare Tengu to both Dread Pirate Catley and Cyborg, right? So Battle Cats, Tengu. Let's compare him to Paris and Dread Pirate Catley, right? Dread Pirate Cat. Okay, so Tengu's niche is strong against Red Angel, 50% chance to knock back in true form. Dread Pirate Catley is more spammable, cheaper, not as like offensive or anything else, but he has single targeting again to knock back red enemies. So lower chance, but also more reliable thanks to his higher recharge time. You're not going to really worry if Pirate Cat dies, especially with talents, because he survives a lethal strike and immune to waves. Ubers take less investment and can carry, but it doesn't mean they hard carry. True. We literally saw before that Tengu was only as good as he was because he had the support with Sanzo. Exactly! So I'm going to include this with the rest of the highlight. Sanzo was the only reason why I could actually make it through that last stage with the Bun Buns, because of the area attack slow he has against... with the area attack slow he has against floating, which is good for Bun Bun. And I'll bring Megadora up here in a second. But before we talk about anything else, I know Lucas the Fourth made a video about Cyborg, right? How she's absolutely insane. 1300 DPS on a unit with 2-second recharge time, with such quick attack animation, and actually somewhat decent HP. Her only problem is her cost, 900 cents. But she's still good. Like, if you have the money, this 1300 DPS can easily turn into 10,000 just after like 15 seconds of spamming them. Like, it's an absolutely insane area attacker with 350 range, by the way. So she's going to help more than a lot of Ubers would whenever it's just general attacking. And then now, Battle Cat's Megadora. Megadora, although he is, he's an oldie but a goodie, 50% chance of knockback floating and slow floating. Right? So he has much better DPS, much longer recharge time, much more HP, much longer attack frequency, more range, more movement speed, right? He has 50% chance to slow for 5 seconds. So with that, if that 50% chance lands, it's 100% uptime. But he's less spammable. 4-second recharge time, by the way. 20% chance to have 4 times the uptime. If you simply land one slow, you're doing good, and you can stack this guy. So you're pretty much perma-slowing, unlike with Megadora, where there's only a 50% chance to slow for until his next attack. Okay, let me catch up with chat real quick. Dancer Cat with Surge talent is an Uber in foreground. Honestly, true. Dancer Cat with max talents, very good. So it's about combining supports with carry at least in early game until you get those units that can deal with everything. Yes. Basic Ubers will not be able to do everything. Unfortunately, there are Ubers like Luna that can absolutely do everything, but that's not who we're talking about. Not just one being better than the other at the same time, but that doesn't. Yeah, don't undermine Ubers, but also don't underestimate non-Uber gacha units because they can carry stages. Sanzo absolutely carried me in that stage with Bun Buns. Megadora would have still carried, but he still probably would have needed extra support simply because of his inconsistencies. You feel like super rares are better comparisons to Ubers? True, but I still want to talk about why rares are more used. Doctor, honestly, I'm going to be honest with you. Doctor has a very interesting niche. Being able to knock back relics with talents consistently because it's a 40% chance, spammable, really quick attack frequency. Guess who's back? Welcome back. Just attack of 5 Paris cats outcompetes a lot of Ubers. Exactly. Do Kazujizo? I could compare Paris to Kazujizo. I could do that in a second. Doctor is actually really niche because against the Relic Cyclone, he can actually completely just knock it back, which is one of the hardest things to do with Relic Cyclone. And I wouldn't be surprised if that's the kind of cheese you can do in that stage. I've never done it, but I have no doubt it works well. But yes, so let's go back to Cyborg real quick. And then I'll probably move on to super rares. Paris. And then I'm gonna go ahead and open up Battle Cats. Kazujizo. You know, Kazujizo. One of the best Ubers in the game, right? I'll actually keep this tab open so that I can compare pizza to him as well. But Kazujizo, right? One of the best Ubers early game at least. 320 attack range, 2000 DPS, 15,000 HP, 4-second recharge time. Massive damage to Black and Angel. That's not what we're looking at right now. Right now we're looking at the sheer DPS with spammability. Paris has better recharge time, not quite as much DPS, but I mean, pretty much half the recharge time, allowing for you to get 2 Cyborg Cats in the time of 1 Kazujizo, right? HP is somewhat similar. I mean, he has more HP, but he's also an Uber, remember that. But Salonka has more range. Salon has more range, 3 knockbacks, by the way, so they both still have really good survivability. But this is Uber compared to Rare, by the way. Uber compared to Rare, and I'd honestly say that the Rare is better against general area attacking stuff. This also doesn't mean only certain non-Uber gacha units are good because they can be used everywhere. Exactly. I'm only talking about certain ones, but all of them have a niche, and they're all good at their niche. Just sometimes that niche is less desirable. The main point of Battlecast is to make a lineup to address the stage, not to make every lineup to do everything for one stage. Yes. The fun of Battlecast is making your own lineups for each stage. For harder stages, at least. You still know which non-Uber gacha to invest in. It's again just lack of information without wiki. Exactly. Not a lot of people actually understand that stats do a lot rather than niche. Because she doesn't even have a niche in Paris Cast. So some people may be like, oh, she doesn't even do anything. Meanwhile, she's actually one of the best rares in the game. You dare disrespect Kazujizo? Me too. Alright, well since we have Kazujizo in the topic, all of these guys are good in their own right. Don't underestimate any of these guys in their niche. Especially since some of them have research combos, like Katasaurus has Mini Stars, which is a really good research combo. Cameraman is like Paris, but with less range and slower. Ramen's a really good meat shield, same with Catalite Shigong and Jiangxi. Gomon is probably one of the worst of the bunch, but even then, early game, he can still provide you with bonus money. Now, super rares. Super rares are a different story, because these guys can actually compete with Ubers consistently. Can. Let's not talk about you right now. I'm not even going to do the same as I did on the rares. I'm just going to talk about one at a time. I'm going to go ahead and go straight to pizza. Or weightlifter. ICAT versus IceCat, that's a comparison I can do. This is why so many people dislike Behemoths, because it basically forces the same few units for every stage. Exactly. Courier problem. How do you get the Monet cat? The money cat? What do you mean by money cat? The gold cat? It's a limited one. Super rares are the best investment. Yes, super rares are probably the best gacha units to invest in. Pizza Cat. 19-second recharge. He has a longer recharge time than Jizo, I will admit that. However, he's slower and he has a lot more HP, giving him better survivability, and his DPS is double that of Kazujizo's. And well, his range isn't better, but he definitely has better survivability with more knockbacks, more HP. And then we're not even talking about talents, by the way. And also, this is super rare compared to rare or uber rare, which means pizza is going to be much higher level than just 30 a lot of the time. No, the cat with money on him. What cat are we talking about? Are we talking about in here or in here? Jesus Christ. Super rare? What are we talking about? This guy? He's a limited unit, just like Gold Cat. There's a lot of limited super rares. But anyway, especially even against blacks, Pizza's probably better. Like, even though Kazuchizo has better range, against a lot of the blacks that you actually struggle with is like Gory and Shadowboxer K and stuff. And so you really don't need a lot of range. You just need damage. And per hit, this guy has a lot more damage than Kazuchizo does. Especially against blacks, because massive damage to Black and Angel gives this guy, what, 28,000 damage in one hit? This guy has 60,000 damage in one hit, which means you're less likely to juggle and more likely to one-shot. Even though the recharge time is much longer, remember, there's also talents. This wave talent is absolutely crazy. It can absolutely help. But yeah, and then being slower, better survivability, all of that. Let me cook Cosmo versus Phonoa. That's not something we're talking about now. We're talking about non-Ubers versus Ubers, not Uber versus Uber. I know that's an argument that X-Skull and somebody else had, but I'm not going to get involved in that. They're both really good for their own right. Because yeah, look, restricting stages also, makes you realize just how good some of these guys are. But let's talk about Kanken, right? I've always thought of Kanken as a mini Balrog, except I'd also say Kanken is arguably better than Balrog. So lesser Demon Cat. You doing Cosmo versus Phonoa? What? You don't even know? What are we I don't even know what the hell we're talking about anymore. The wave talent with black enemies having so many knockbacks usually means they get double hit. That's true. That is very true. But even if they don't get knocked back, the wave provides a double hit just because of how wave works. But Balrog guy, right? In his max form, he does 63,000 damage. In his true form, he does 63,000 damage per hit with 28,000 DPS. But we're mainly talking about per hit here. 28-second recharge time, da-da-da-da-da. Single attack. Look at Kanken. Kanken, let's talk about Kanken at much higher level than just 30. Why don't we talk about Kanken at level 50? 60,000 damage in one hit. Notice something? What's happening? I'm talking about non-Ubers versus Ubers. 60,000 damage per hit on Balrog. 60,000 damage per hit on Kanken. Kanken at level 50 does as much as Balrog does at level 30 in his true form. And more range, which means Kanken can actually be stacked on Bun Bun, unlike Balrog. And also Kanken has much quicker recharge time and a niche, 60% chance to slow against reds and aliens, and she has money up. Get your money up before you get your funny up, am I right? Jesus Christ. This is one of the best talents in the game, simply because getting double money from something such as a seal that Kanken can easily one-shot, very good. And speed up talent is not something you should ignore, because you get to upgrade her speed by 10, making her essentially a mini rusher. Yeah, second best talent? Yeah, with Baja Blast being fucking number 1. Thank you for the follow, by the way. The only annoying part about Kanken is the time before the attack. That's true, but it's really not even that long. So as long as you're taking the beginning a little slow. Thank you for the follow, by the way. Thank you, everybody, for following. Ganglion versus Housewife? I can do that. Just give me a chance to breathe. I gotta catch up with chat a little bit. Even without the niche, she's still good? Yeah, like, the niche is only a bonus. honestly, especially against boars and stuff. Double bounty should be your first talent purchase, definitely. If I had Can, I would already have that on this account. Not the Thwomp follow notice. Dude, it's actually amazing, right? It fits. It fits the fucking Tetsukachi, right? You got Can speed up, and when you did, you made Queen Bee a joke. Yeah, Can is absolutely crazy. Okay, so Housewife versus Ganglion. Ganglion. Let's do it. These two are actually somewhat of a good, like, and actually, I want to talk about Housewife. I really want to talk about it because I haven't gotten her on my main yet. Get Can, dude. I want to get Can. I just don't have the draws. I don't got the draws, man. You should just generalize Ubers and generalize super rares and compare. I would, but we keep talking about comparing specific Ubers to super rares, so this is how I'm talking about it. This is how I can compare. Like, if I'm comparing super rares to even some of the most known Ubers, then I think it'll get the point across better than if I just said most Ubers have this much range or this much damage or whatever. So it's just better this way. Tetsukachi versus Miter Saw, maybe Miter Saw is better compared to... Who did I compare Miter Saw to before? Oh, fucking Huge Hermit. I'll try not to talk about limited ones, though, and limited super rares. Taking individual examples doesn't really go anywhere. It does if I'm talking about the better ones. We're talking about some of the most known Ubers. We're talking about Balrog, Ganglion. We're talking about them all. Housewife versus Ganglion isn't fair. One is an Eldritch force to be reckoned with, and one is Ganglion. You're right. Honestly, comparing anybody to Vulture Cat is kind of unfair because look at this: 1700 DPS, 20-second recharge time, not bad. 20 movement speed. Really good anti-zombie with her slow and zombie killer, especially with her LD. And then with Talon, she gets a 30% chance for Savage Blow, by the way. Effectively increasing her damage by 60%, and this is only at level 30. Need I say more? This is only at level 30. Most super rares are going to be level 50 later on into the game. And then obviously Ganglion, 5k DPS with much longer recharge time, less range, better LD, and also much better damage against zombies. But this is only one. You can stack Housewife, and then also better HP and all that. And then talents. Honestly, talents are useless on this guy. But now, okay, let's get off the topic. Let's get off of comparing specific Ubers to specific super rares. Let's just identify the niche of the super rares. Volta versus Seafarer. Volta's actually better against freezing thanks to his longer range, but Seafarer is more spammable, so that's something to remember. Okay, let's get one statement out. Super rares can take over Uber rares specifically because they are better generally thanks to their quicker recharge time. Their recharge time allowing them to be spammable and stackable makes them much better than the general Uber that has a similar niche to them. And yes, typically Ubers have more range, more stats, But the reason why I don't generalize that is because Ganglion actually has less standing range than Housewife. So I don't like generalizing Ubers. I like giving prime examples as to, things. More expendable, yes, yada yada yada. The Cat Cannon one is also bad though, it's sad. Yeah, some of them are bad, but I'm not talking about any of these. I'm talking about these ones. So, oh, that's not what I wanted to do. Take me back. Okay. Can. Mini Balrog, already talked about her. Rocat, honestly, one of the best anti-red tanks you're going to find. Cyberpunk, one of the best cheese units you're going to find in the game, especially with 1200 range. Really good. Octo, honestly, really good anti-floating tank, plus probably the best consistent wave blocker. iCat, freeze 100% chance to freeze red with area attack. Very fucking good. Here's the thing. I was comparing Ubers with similar niches, but not identical niches, alright? Give me a break here. Kitty of Liberty literally is your main use for barrier breakers. Honestly, I'm going to... Whenever we get to Kitty of Liberty, I'll go into more detail on that. Fisherman, honestly, really good rusher and massive damage against floating makes him a really good anti-floating rusher. Honestly, Sexy Bathcat not used enough. Only 600 or only 750 cost for massive damage against red with as much range as Dragon Cat. Very good. Ultra Delinquent, one of the few things that can freeze relics relatively regularly. I don't use Bodhisattva, but good anti-floating, I think. Juliet can freeze angels very consistently with good range and somewhat decent damage actually. Pizza, we've already talked about him, really good against black. Slapstick, honestly, one of the few area attacking anti-relics you're going to find, especially with Weaken. Very good for that. Just use Doron. Yeah, well, sometimes you don't have Doron by the time you need to freeze relics. Cat Toaster, don't use them, but I think it's a good slower, maybe. Seafarer freezes aliens incredibly well comparative to even the best anti-aliens in the game. Housewife, already talked about it, really good with Savage Blow. Kitty of Liberty, let's talk about this. Everybody just identifies Kitty of Liberty as a barrier breaker, thanks to 320 range with a 100% chance to break barriers. This bitch at level 30 has 18,000 damage per hit, with only 9-second recharge time. And with only one knockback, you're pretty much guaranteed to get at least one hit off, along with somewhat decent HP. And good attack frequency. And really quick attack animation. Let's look at this at level fucking 50, why don't we? A level... Hold up, I gotta actually... I think everybody underestimates the general usage. 28,000 damage in one hit with a 4-second attack frequency. This is at level 50. Not even that high of a level, honestly, considering it's a gacha unit. Goddamn. So many people underestimate Kitty of Liberty. And then you can also give attack buffs and stuff. But like, and it's also not too expensive of a true form. Very good, especially with 320 range. Outranging quite a few things, actually. Yeah, Kitty of Liberty flies so far under the radar. So many people underestimate Kitty of Liberty. And Nimcat, being one of the few LD units you can actually get early game that I still don't have on my new account. But having LD with the multi-hit that reaches up to 550 with 2600 DPS, even half of that, even if only one of these hit, that's still 1300 DPS on a pretty damn cheap super rare with relatively low recharge time, I guess, and decent survivability thanks to the 4 knockbacks, pretty good speed, and talents give target, angel, and tough versus, which are 2 pretty damn good talents. Let me catch up with chat. The other main selling point here is that non-Uber gacha units can be 100 times more powerful than an Uber because of the plus levels being easy to get. That's true. Plus levels are something to keep in mind. Ubers can be leveled up to level 60 thanks to Dark Cat's Eyes, but a lot of super rares that you use on a regular basis, like if you give them plus levels, they'll probably end up getting to like level 70 or 80 without as much investment. And they also cost less XP. Fried Chimp is very good though. Fried Chimp is very good. Are we talking about... That's Ro's middle form, right? Yeah. Fried Shrimp is really good. Because as Ro, 1300 DPS honestly isn't bad for a tank. Only 10-second recharge time resistant to red with 60,000 base HP at level 30. So that means what? That's a shit ton of HP. Like 250 effective HP plus the weaken, which actually makes it so that one Ro with the weaken effectively has 500,000 HP if I'm doing my math right. That's fucking nuts, considering the 10-second recharge time. That's not something to underestimate. And then with talents, of course, you get cost down and defense buff. 2 knockbacks though? Yeah, you won't completely tank, but that's still more than a... That's still like 200,000 HP per knockback. Of course, that is including the weaken, which the weaken is only 20%, unfortunately. But still there. Knowing that stat-based units should get the plus levels, while units that rely on abilities shouldn't get them too. Like, not a lot of people will know that, but that's not something for me to really... That's not the topic of this. But generally speaking, super rares that have the same niche as an Uber, they're probably going to be better most of the time thanks to their spam ability, lower cost, and higher consistency. Because Ubers tend to focus more on damage, range, and survivability rather than consistency and spammability. 10-2. If you did enjoy, please do come back for more. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace!